This video is just me talking about a bunch of stuff about the shutdown. Just whatever. I'm trying to make it funny. I don't think I did a very good job. Here we go. Early in December 2018, the Republican-controlled Senate unanimously passed an appropriations bill to fund the government through 2019. This bill contained $1.3 billion for border security. It was expected to also be passed by the then Republican-controlled House and signed into law by President Trump. However, some pundits made fun of Trump for not building a wall. So, the shutdown began December 22nd, 2018. We know that Trump frequently watches Fox. There are numerous times when the timing of his tweets have lined up with the subject matter that's going on with Fox and Friends. In addition to that, I have zero doubt in my mind that when someone like Sean Hannity or Ann Coulter starts criticizing him, he's such of an egomaniac, he knows about it. So, Trump was then demanding $5 billion for a wall. $5 billion is significantly less than any estimated budget for building a border wall. It's not like he lets truth get in his way, though. He wasn't demanding that before they passed the bill, though. In fact, Pence was even working on a compromise to get $2.5 billion in border funding. That fell through thanks to Trump backstabbing him and going, "No deal." Oh wait, no, that's not his show. I'm sorry. A week or so after that, the Dems took back the House. I'd like to point out that Trump could have demanded this funding and had a significantly easier time getting this bill earlier in 2018, you know, when the Republicans still controlled the House and Senate. He and the Republicans, of course, did not do that. Maybe it's incompetence. Maybe it's a wildly unpopular idea even among Republican voters, and they decided it would be better to push it off into 2019 so they could blame the Democrats and not have to worry about fracturing their voter base. I'm leaning towards incompetence, but I could go either way. I gotta talk about this video. Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer walk into a bar fight. I mean, the White House press conference. I remember when I first saw this, it was so surreal.
And we've gained in the Senate. Nancy, we've gained in the Senate. Excuse me, did we win the Senate? We won the Senate.
When the president brags that he won North Dakota and Indiana, he's in real trouble.
I did.
Let me say this.
We did win North Dakota and Indiana.
It reminded me of the 2016 presidential debates. Trump, Pelosi, and Schumer were all so upset at each other and just talking back and forth so passive-aggressively. But Pence wasn't even saying anything. Look at him, he didn't sign up for this. So at the start, Pelosi was kind of trying to keep things civil. Schumer quickly derailed that. He kind of goaded Trump into admitting fault for the government shutdown.
20 times.
Very quickly. And
20 times.
I don't want to do what you did.
20 times
Chuck,
you have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said it.
Okay, you want to put that on my...
You've said it.
I'll take it.
Okay.
I'll take it.
There it is. He admitted to it.
Good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay,
absolutely.
fair enough.
Don't you fucking tell me that it's the Democrats' fault.
I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck.
Don't you tell me this bullshit.
I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it.
So when someone says the Democrats did it, they're gaslighting you. They're lying. They could have pulled this off months before, but they didn't. I wonder if I can melt into this chair. What really worries me about this whole exchange, though, is that I can see it happening again in a presidential debate. Schumer versus Trump. God, just imagine the snark. If I don't move, these dinosaurs can't see me. That joke may have humanized Pence too much. So here he is comparing Trump to MLK for wanting the wall.
The hearts and minds of the American people today are thinking a lot about it being the weekend where we remember the life and work of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. One of my favorite quotes from Dr. King was, "Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy." You think of how he changed America. He inspired us to change through the legislative process to become a more perfect union. That's exactly what President Trump is calling on the Congress to do.
It's hilarious how many people have heard MLK's I Have a Dream speech and they think that he would agree with them and that it's appropriate to cite him. And by hilarious, I mean depressing. Maybe spend some actual time studying him. Yeah, not a fan of capitalism. Back in his day, they called him a radical leftist. Give me more attention, I'm lonely in Donald's shadow. It's amazing they're not even trying to hide their evil nowadays. And speaking of evil, it's so hard to make this video funny. Kind of hard to talk about this section without coming across as a little too whiny or bitchy. I don't know. Basically, the GOP in the last few decades don't like big government agencies, and they've been running on platforms of privatization and less government spending and less welfare. I mean, except insane military spending while ignoring all of our veterans, but most notable swing of this trend arguably began with Reagan. Some could argue before that. Trump and his drain the swamp con is really just the most recent manifestation of this awful ideology. Trump appointed a head of the EPA who wanted to get rid of it. He appointed a head of the Department of Energy who wanted to get rid of it in the past. He appointed a head of the Department of Education who wants more private schooling, and a head of Housing and Urban Development who would go on to charge poor people even more money for housing under the guise of it will encourage them to work more. And apparently someone in the White House actually thinks the shutdown is good and that agencies were working better under the shutdown. Okay. It must be nice to do a lot of drugs. Did they call it the White House because of all the drugs they do there? I think you can describe this entire ideology as a fetishization of hyper-capitalism, or greed is good, which I suppose makes sense if you're a retard. Actually, Mr. Tech, the R word is an ableist slur used to denigrate mentally disabled people. Oh, really? I thought it was still acceptable to call them Republicans. Hire me, late night television. All right, let's talk a bit about some of just what exactly shut down. You may have heard that 800,000 federal government employees were furloughed, which basically means they aren't working because there's no money to pay them, although they probably will get back pay. Some agencies were still operating, but at severely reduced staffing numbers. In addition to that, government contractors were also put out of work. This includes jobs like security, information technology, janitors, a lot. Perhaps the most obvious thing that I should mention here was that the shutdown was directly affecting agencies that do work for border security and other points of entry. The TSA, Border Patrol, and Coast Guard were all not receiving funding during this, and the majority of their workers were furloughed. You've probably heard about the TSA and the horrendous state of the airports, or you've had the misfortune of going through them. Oh man. You thought the TSA was bad enough on a good day. The irony here is that if the Republicans truly do hate big government agencies, this whole shutdown sent the opposite message. The Coast Guard was working without pay too. A branch of the US military, for the first time in our history, was shut down due to a lack of funding. Destroying our national security to own the libs. You've also likely seen the national parks. Yikes. Can you imagine if Teddy Roosevelt were alive today and he saw this? There'd be fisticuffs. Trump would be trampled by the bull moose. That's an old reference to back when there were progressive Republicans. Might be worth a Google search.
Would you ask those companies, though, landlords, to kind of go easy on?
I think they will. I think they will.
I'm sorry. Would
no,
you ask?
I think that happens.
You know what, guys? I think Trump might be out of touch. Okay, so I know what you're thinking. How do we end all this? How do we stop this from happening again? Well, the truth is, it's very easy. We just need enough senators to approve a bill, and they don't need Trump. However, Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader, and he's not allowing any votes without the $5 billion because Trump will just veto it, which is whatever, I guess. It doesn't cost them anything to vote. It's literally their job. But maybe he's right. Maybe the votes, they just aren't there. Oh, wait a minute. No, they originally passed the first bill unanimously. They have the votes. This couldn't, of course, be that Mitch McConnell is up for re-election in 2020 and he is bending over to kiss the ring of Trump because he wants to ride that same wave of populism. It's hard to watch. It's almost like he's trying to be a human.
Their bill would make Election Day a new paid holiday for government workers. A power grab that's smelling more and more like exactly what it is.
He doesn't even want people to vote. On January 25th, the LaGuardia Airport in New York City shut down. That's a pretty big deal. You may have seen this woman on TV, Sarah Nelson.
Many of these people are fighting for our country right now, and we are not paying them.
President of the Association of Flight Attendants. She made it clear that a strike was likely imminent. While she only directly represents one union related to air travel, this sentiment was most likely shared by the other unions. Just imagine the hell that would happen if every major airport in this country shut down because of a strike. Air traffic controllers did that under Reagan's administration and he fired them all. But the president can't fire striking workers in private businesses. So having massive airport strikes would be a nasty thing on his resume. A horrible stain on his administration. So that same day, Trump said he would fund a 3-week funding measure.
Leader McConnell, you can fix this today.
Hey! The Senate and the House passed it. He signed it all in the same day as the airport shutting down. I'm going to go ahead and say that I do not believe that is a coincidence. It's almost like there's more of us than there are of them. But the shutdown isn't over. It'll be back when the measure ends. I don't have a punchline to end this. God, this was depressing to make. My fellow Americans, if you liked this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. My campaign promise to you is that my next few videos will not be this depressing.